FedEx just came by the house and dropped off a package, and as it turns out, it's the Impact LX25. So let's go ahead and do an unboxing and quick review of the features. In a later video, I'll go ahead and connect this up with Reason and Studio One and maybe Ableton and go over some of the controls and using it with a DAW. But for now, let's just go ahead and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got printed manual, which Nektar tends to send along with their products, which is a good thing because I prefer to read from a booklet rather than a PDF file. So you've got the book, and you've also got a disc with Studio One Artist 2.6 and the DAW integration installers are on this DVD as well. Standard USB cable, and for the keyboard itself, and here we are. I think it looks pretty good. So let's set this down and then take a look at some of the keys and pads and knobs on this baby. So the Nektar Impact LX25, it's, just in case you're wondering about the size, it's 18 3/4 inch long, 10.5 deep, and 2 3/4 high. It's a 25 key MIDI controller with full-size keys that are velocity sensitive. It's a medium tension, and I've reviewed the 61 key, and these keys feel about the same as that one. I mean, they could be a little bit better, but for $100 with everything else that you get, it's a really good deal actually. So the keyboard has 4 velocity curves and 3 fixed. So you can kind of choose between those based on your playing style. There's 8 velocity sensitive pads, and these do feel good. They're stiff, so if you like the stiffer pads, then you're in business. The pads also have 4 velocity curves and 3 fixed. They also have note learning capability too. And you have 4 different pad maps here, which you can just choose by, I believe you just hold down Shift here, and then you can select each map with the bottom pads. If you're in mixer mode, you can also hold down the mixer button here and use the pads to mute the bank of 8 tracks, whichever bank that you have currently selected when you're in mixer mode. You then have one fader here, which feels good. It's got a rubberized cover on it, and the slider's a slightly loose feeling, but I mean, it's still fine. It works. Now this level is going to control the level on whatever channel that you have selected in your mixer. If you hold down the mixer button while you adjust this, then it will control your master volume. You then have 8 Assignable Pots, and these do have soft takeover. In the mixer mode, these control the levels of the selected bank of 8 tracks, and holding the mixer button down will holding this down while using the pots will control the panning. So if you have tracks 1 through 8 selected as your bank, then these will control the levels, the fader for those 8 tracks. In instrument mode, these by default control the more important parameters of your VST instrument, or by important, I guess you could say the ones that have the biggest impact on the sound, such as cutoff, resonance, etc. You can also assign these knobs to whatever you'd like. And these actually do feel pretty good. They're a little loose, but they feel fine. And of course, as with most or any MIDI controller, you've got your transport controls here. 6 transport buttons for stop, play, record, fast forward, rewind. These fast forward and rewind by bar. And then you've got a loop control there. There are additional controls below for returning to the beginning of your song, setting your left and right locators, undo, turning on your click, and a mode button. These can be accessed by holding down Shift and clicking. You also have 5 function buttons here to the left, and I'll go over these in more detail when I connect this and use it with the DAWs in future videos. But actually the buttons here on the Nektar feel the best to me out of everything. They've got a nice solid click to them, and the buttons feel good. There's a nice tactile feel to them. Moving on, you then have your octave up and down buttons, the transpose buttons. These feel good as well. A nice click to them. These also serve a dual purpose. You can hold down both either the octave or hold down the transpose. And this will then give you access to a menu for making changes in sending program changes, changing the global MIDI channel, or selecting control presets. You also at the top corner here have a 3-character 7-segment LED display. And lastly, on the keyboard you have your pitch and mod wheels. And these actually feel really good too. These also have that rubberized cover on them, which seems to help with controlling them here. And so we'll take a look at the back then and wrap this up. So taking a look at the back of the Nektar, you've got a Kensington lock section there. And moving down, you've got a 1/4-inch jack for foot switch or sustain, your USB connection, and your power. And you've also got some sunlight in the shot. Power switch feels pretty solid. The LX25 supports Bitwig, Cubase, Nuendo, Digital Performer, GarageBand, Logic, Reaper, Sonar, and Studio One. And on the Nektar website, there is a downloadable script which you have access to and can use that for Ableton. So I haven't heard much about how well that script works, but if I do, I most likely will do a video on using this with Ableton, and then at that point I'll go ahead and talk about how that worked